Hello and welcome to the next in the 31 Days of Horror. I'm the Peculiar Lefty, and today's film is The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover by Peter Greenaway, and oh my god, this is something. If I had to sum up this film in one word, it would be excessive. It's an assault on the senses. It's like drinking double cream. The staging is gorgeous, the colours are perfectly balanced, the lighting is boner-inducing, the sets absolutely stink of refinement. Everything about this film is heightened, it's larger than life. The characters are drawn in such broad strokes that they'd be caricatures if they weren't so well acted and well directed. The music is almost more operatic than opera itself. There's this little choir boy, who he can't have been more than like 10 or 11, but he has a voice so pure and so perfect it makes Ali Jones sound like a wet fart. I mean, I mentioned opera a minute ago, but opera really is the best comparison point for this film. It's got that same sense of being above the normal, of being heightened. The costumes are not things that normal people would normally wear. The sets do not look like places normal people would go or live, or places you would see in ordinary life. Costumes change from one shot to the next as someone walks from one room to another to fit in with the colour scheme of the room. Even the camera movements are set up in such a way as to emphasise that this whole thing was filmed on a soundstage. It wasn't done in the way that you would expect a normal film to be shot, where they go from one location to another, always cutting in such a way as to make you think it's a real place. It's almost more like being in the theatre, only because of the closeness you can achieve with a camera, you're right up in the middle of the action. And of course that spirit of excess spills over into the events of the plot and into the behaviour you see depicted on screen. There's full frontal nudity, both male and female for a change. There's sexual violence, child abuse, vomiting. In fact, I think there's the scene in which Tim Roth is vomiting at the dinner table is one of the most nauseating things I've seen on camera. In the opening scene of the film, the very first scene, a bloke gets force-fed dog shit and then pissed on. So that's what you got here. It's a film that is determined to give you an extraordinary experience, and that pulls it off so well that that even though there's such vulgarity on screen, the film always has an air of refinement. The story is one that's been told for as long as there have been human beings and some form of social hierarchy. A woman is married to a wealthy, powerful man, in this case a gangster, but she's not happy. Her husband is cruel, boorish, uncultured, and just generally a terrible person to be around. Sure, we all know some people like that, but not to the extent of this motherfucker. So she has an affair with a commoner, in this case a bookshop owner. Her husband finds out, and some bad fuckery ensues. What makes it special, though, is the way it's told. In that stylised, stagey kind of way that I guess is similar to the style that Baz Luhrmann used in his Red Curtain trilogy. And also that sort of spirit of excess is something you can find in Baz Luhrmann's work, or at least in his earlier films. So I think that's a good point of comparison. What's most important is that it's not a realist film, and it does not intend to be a realist film. As I said before, it feels much more like you're in the theatre than watching something that has been shot beforehand. It feels like, I don't know, the way it's done suits theatre as a medium where the suspension of disbelief is more of a thing. Like, you're expected to ignore more of reality in a theatre than in a cinema, because in a theatre it's more obvious that what you're seeing is not real, because it's, you can look around, you can look at the lights, the audience around you, you can see that the actors are not real people, they're right in front of you. And the cast. Jesus, what a cast. You've got Michael Gambon as Albert Spiker, the gangster, who is easily the most disgusting human being ever depicted on screen. You've got Tim Roth as his lieutenant, Dame Helen Mirren herself as his wife, and she's amazing as well. She can really act. And Ian Drury is in it. Like Ian Drury and the Blockheads, that Ian Drury is in this film. The entire film is so overblown, so grandiose, that if even one person had screwed up, the entire thing would have collapsed. It's that kind of very finely balanced House of Cards type of film, where everything has to be spot on or nothing's worth a shit. But no one did screw up. And the end result is something that whether you like it or not, you will never forget. And yes, it is horrifying, especially the final scene, which I definitely am not going to spoil. You got to see this for yourself. Don't look up the plot of this film, alright? Don't look up any spoilers, just watch it blind. Watch it blind, watch it in bed, with a glass of good port. I'd recommend Croft's Triple Crown. And just lie back and enjoy the most ridiculously, perfectly luxuriant film ever made. It's like wiping your ass with silk.